Thanks for joining me for another of my favourite musical moments. Just before I share this music with you, just a little Australian history. People are known to have occupied mainland Australia for at least 65,000 years. In 1788, Aboriginal land was taken over by British colonists. Eddie Mabo was an Indigenous Australian. In 1992, he went to the Australian High Court to fight the international doctrine of terra nullius for his people, and he won, which led to the Native Title Act of 1993. In 1980, Neil Murray, a young schoolteacher who lived with his family in the northern part of Victoria, was visiting his grandfather's farm one day, and he saw something quite unusual. Asked his grandfather, "What's this?" And his grandfather said, "Oh, that was an implement that was used for farming when the original inhabitants lived where we're living at this moment." And Neil had never heard of this, the original inhabitants. And his grandfather said, "Yes, Aboriginal people lived here long before whites settled." And so that has an enormous impact on Neil Murray, who decides to leave his job and to go to the far north of Australia to find out the real history of our country and of our Indigenous people that he never ever was able to find in any Australian history books. So off he goes, and he works as a drover, as a truck driver, and he meets some Aboriginal young men who also work in the same area, and they're musical people, and he's also a guitar player and a songwriter. So he suggests to these young men that maybe if we rehearse and we can work on some songs, we can put a band together. So they did. It was called the Warumpi Band. And after a couple of years of full-on rehearsals with Neil guiding them, they got a record deal, and they released two terrific albums, really exciting albums of original music. And so while he's doing that, he's touring with them in that area, and he introduces the band to a band you may be familiar with called Midnight Oil, another great Australian band who work very hard in their music to get a better deal for Indigenous Australians. And by this time, Midnight Oil are one of the most popular bands, not just in Australia but worldwide. And they suggest that they share an Australian tour called the Black Fella, White Fella Tour, Midnight Oil and the Warumpi Band. That's what happened. So during that time, Neil is also writing his own songs, and he writes a song inspired by the story that we briefly mentioned before about Eddie Mabo. And I want you to listen closely to the words of Neil's song and the sincerity with which they're delivered. And songwriters like him I've become just so close to in my admiration for not deviating from the career that they want to do, which is to write real songs about real people, particularly about real Australians. So I hope now you would enjoy with me listening to Neil Murray and this very inspiring song inspired by Eddie Mabo.
Eddie Mabo, your hero. Eddie Mabo, your hero. See me in the morning, I'm going down. I'm gonna meet them, yeah. The ones with all the money and the power. I'm gonna face them, yeah. Gonna see what they look like. Get a real hard look in their eyes. Before they move their mouths, I'll know what they say. They say you can make a lot of money if you just compromise. But it ain't my boy, you say no. It ain't my boy, you know so. It ain't my boy, he's a hero. Terra nullius was a lie. took them all on and he won. Gave us hope where there was none. We all walked tall because of you, Eddie Mabo. He's a hero, Eddie Mabo. He knows so. Now destroy us themselves. I don't let them, no, I don't let them near what they don't understand. No business with this land. 'Cause it ain't my boy, said so. It ain't my boy, you know so. Eddie Mabo, he's a hero. Watch out for the greed merchants. They'll be taking native time like a money or fee. It's the biggest thing grab you ever seen. No, don't let them near what they don't understand. No business with this land. 'Cause it ain't my home.